Good afternoon, everyone. So we've all worked on many, many different projects in our time. And one of the things that always comes up is that you think that, yeah, I'll just slot on that firewall and it'll just work. Or I'll just slot on those application servers and they'll just work. And there's this idea that you just sprinkle a little bit of fairy dust, wave your magic wand, and everything will just work. And we've all been in this game long enough to know that it's not the case by a long shot. But everyone seems to still think, wherever you are, that this is how it's going to happen. Now, when I was first slated to give this talk, that is all I had as far as content is concerned. And so then I had to go and rummage around and think about, okay, what else am I going to fill this in with? So fortunately, I did think of stuff to fill in the gaps with, and quite a bit. So I'm going to ramble on with this as quickly as I can. So when we get into an IAM project, there are all the manner of different promises that you give to the enterprise that you are joining. You tell them that, oh, we'll remove all your duplicate users, we'll sort out all of your provisioning systems so that there's no people who should no longer be there, that all have the correct level of access. We'll do all the stuff that we all promise. And whichever flavor of IAM that we're going to go for, whether we're just doing an internal, whether we're going to be serving external, or any of the other things, it's all going to just work and do it all smoothly. And you've got a bunch of, you finally just bump into this whole buzzword bingo over here, which just overwhelms all the people whom you're speaking to. And the one which I'm going to pick up on initially is IAM, IDM, ID&AM, I&AM, which all mean the same bloody thing. But we use all these different terms, and not even when we are dealing with, we're not even dealing with the, once you get down to the vendors, with all their different acronyms. And then when you are dealing with the infrastructure people who are deploying all of this, they have a separate acronym if they're deploying it into a dev, sit, UAT, pre-prod, and prod, just so that they can keep track of everything. And then on top of that, they're doing exactly the same thing for their internal IAM solution and their external IAM solution. So once you get on this road, you are going to be boring the pants off people with every single phrase. And you're going to have people in the business who are just going to be nodding like they understand everything you're saying when they don't. And they just, partly because they don't want to appear ignorant, partly because we're dazzling them with so many stuff, and they just don't have the capacity to even deal with what we're talking about. And I'm not going to belabor the point, because every professional uses buzzwords. If you go to your doctors or to a lawyer, they does use a bunch of Latin phrases and Greek phrases, which mean nothing to either. So it's not just something that we do, but it is something that is important. And the reason it's important to me is because it is the root of one of my big screw-ups in this industry. I came onto a project. I was invited in by the enterprise architect, or rather global enterprise architect, because he had a conversation with the global IT director who wanted an IAM solution. So I come in and run through the standard rule book of, okay, we need to get access management, we need a password management, we need all of the different bits and pieces. And after a number of months, and keep going back to this IT director and presenting what we've done, he's never happy. So in the end, finally sat down with the guy and asked him, what exactly do you want? And he said that, well, I just want to make sure that when my administrators are creating AD accounts, they're following the correct naming convention. That's his primary thing, which wasn't what I was told. So not so much that I got paid loads of money for not getting any work done, but also because I didn't actually deliver what I was expected to deliver, and mainly because I made a foolish assumption that just because someone's got the title IT director, or just because someone's got the title enterprise architect, they know what IAM is about. And one thing which I've learned by working with other aspects of security is that IAM is still a very niche area, and it has a niche language which not everybody gets. And you need to break down and make sure you've got everyone on the same page as you. Where am I next? So the next thing which a lot of people don't realize when they're actually picking up on an IAM project is the sheer size of it. Your IAM needs to identify every user in your organization and needs to grant access to them, the right level of access, throughout their life cycle and on all of the different systems that they need to be accessing. Saying it in a sentence sounds fairly straightforward, but at a previous bank where I was working, they had over 100,000 users and 60,000 applications which they wanted to integrate with. And one of the things that happens when you have so many different systems and so many different things to integrate with, you find that it's not a sort of like your standard sort of like 3-month or 1-month agile project where we just want to get a nice little mobile app done. It goes on for years, and you end up getting basically your general project fatigue, i.e. the people who were initially involved in your project are no longer there, your initial stakeholders are no longer there, the people who are supporting you are no longer there, the technology has moved on beyond you. Initially you were doing an on-site thing, all of a sudden now you've got mobile apps and cloud things to deal with. So whenever you're getting on this, you've got to engage with your stakeholders, and statement I use, engage early and engage often, wherever those stakeholders are, and you need to make sure that what you are building is flexible. And that only comes if you have spoken to your stakeholders beforehand and they know what you are getting them into. It's not a matter of one size fits all in the IAM world, because every organization is different, and you need to prioritize what you're delivering to them and when. Okay. I saw this picture and I decided to Photoshop it a bit. When we're delivering our IAM, we always come in with a bunch of policies that we want people to follow, a bunch of workflows that we want people to follow, and we forget that we're dealing with human beings. One of the guys who was on the previous panel, he was talking about how people behave in the healthcare system. They just need to cure people. They're not interested in the policies that are holding them back. And the similar thing happens in all other aspects of the work that we're doing. And I like this cartoon and I dislike the cartoon. I dislike it because it makes everyone think that the user is an idiot. But the user isn't an idiot. The user is trying to get their job done. And we can wrap them in every kind of firewall, SIM solution, DLP, whatever we want. They're going to just want to get their job done. And, oops. So the point is, don't underestimate human nature when you are putting together your system. If any system that is too complicated, the users will find a way to bypass it. And if you are dealing with users who represent the business and are a cost center, or not cost center, a profit center for the business, they will always win that argument. You won't have a chance against them. And if you are building a system which is too complicated, they'll just call help desk. If you build a system which has a workflow where you've got to get 10 different approvals to do something, they'll just call help desk. If your password system is too convoluted, they'll do password 1, 2, 3, 4, every 3 months or whatever it is that you have. So you need to make whatever you're doing work with the human beings whom you are serving. Another thing which you need to do early doors is know the goals that you are trying to achieve with this IAM solution. You want to get some baseline metrics so you can show early on that we have reduced calls to the help desk for password reset by XYZ percentage. You can only do that if you knew what the initial calls to the help desk were. Similarly, with anything else that you're trying to do, you need to make sure that you know what you are trying to get out of this. Are you trying to just reduce the number of duplicate users? You're trying to bring about compliance? Whatever it is, you need to know what you're trying to do. Another thing which I want to go into is the fact that this is a great opportunity for the business or any organization that is doing identity management. As we stated earlier, your identity management touches every single thing in the organization. So it's a rare opportunity for an organization to actually take a close look at all the systems that they have on their estate. How many of them are still licensed? How many of them are running unlicensed software? How many of them no longer have a project team dedicated to supporting them? How many systems are you paying licensing fees but nobody's actually even using that software? How many things have no documentation related to them? It's a chance to actually do something and do something constructive. And final point on this slide, we have always got an innovative environment. We work in technology, we see it all. In the last few years, we've seen cloud and mobile spring up, and they've become the norm. Now we've got Internet of Things coming in, and with the Internet of Things, you have to give an identity to each one of those IoT devices, because they're going to be accessing your system. How do you define what they are, what they're allowed to do? You have you have the IoT thermostat. It's allowed to access your boiler, fine. Is it allowed to access your payroll system? No. So you need to have controls over what these devices are allowed to do. Similarly, is the system that you are delivering ready for either AI or machine learning or any of the other things which are coming in the future, and what benefits can you give to the organization with those? So here I get to reuse the same slide twice. So when you're delivering a system and building it, you've got to make sure it is usable by the people who are supposed to use it. And hands up over here who's ever had to use Oracle's Primavera to book their timesheets every single week. Or any other timesheet system, which you have to use every single week, and every time you turn it on, you curse the person who developed that interface, whomever it may be, because you have to use it. And the only reason you get by is because everybody else around you in the room has to use it as well, so there's enough shared knowledge to be able to get you through each time. Your IAM solution, with the exception of your single sign-on, which mostly is seamless, most people don't even know that they're going to use it. They're going to be using their attestation maybe once a quarter. They may be using their password reset once or twice a year. And if they can't either find where the solution is or if they don't know how to use it, they're going to call help desk again. And once again, your IAM project hasn't delivered on some of the things which you wanted it to do. So if your IAM, one of your IAM screens looks anything like this, it's a fail. So you need to make sure that you understand that you are delivering an interface that ordinary, normal human beings are going to use. They're not security experts, they're non-technical for the most part, and they need to know that even if I'm only going to use this once a month or once a year, the interface which I need to use, the buttons which I need to use, are there and they are easy to use. There was a stat which I read a few months ago with regards to e-commerce, that between adding something to your basket and the actual completing the checkout, if it takes more than 3 steps, 75% of people give up. Now, if after 3 steps they haven't managed to reset their password, they're not going to call a help desk. It's not rocket science. You have to make sure that the interface matches the fact that the people nowadays, they are using mobile phones with nice, slick, simple interfaces, and you need to deliver on that. Okay. Now, some of you may know this, most of you probably don't, but I am a big Marvel fan. And whether it's the comic books or the movies, I love them, have loved them for many years. But one thing which impresses me as regards to the movies is that they start telling you about the movie, start drip-feeding information about it a year in advance, sometimes even more than that. They'll go to Comic-Con, they'll have whole load of merchandising ties with everyone from Aldi to Burger King to Lego, so that by the time the movie comes out, you're just like Pavlov's dog sitting in the theater, salivating, just waiting for the movie to start. Now, I'm not saying that we need to start merchandising within our IAM solution, but I know there's RSA people in here today, so please don't sue me for this. However, did you get that snap? No. Go on then. You can hire me for my Photoshop skills as well. Okay. So, but we do need to work on our communications. We need to make sure that the message gets out that there is an IAM solution, that you can do your password resets. Those of you who, we know that Christmas is just around the corner, New Year's is around the corner. We know that there's a peak surge of people who've forgotten their passwords as soon as they come in on the 2nd of January. So start your communications now to make sure that people know how to do the password reset so that they're not overburdening the help desk. You've got to be there and make sure people understand all the security benefits and the usability, but how to use it. You need to make sure that when you've started all your stakeholder interactions, you're getting to know people in HR and payroll. You need to know that what someone in HR needs to do with the IAM solution is completely different from what someone in the DevOps team needs to do. And that's another point which I'm probably going to go over time with this, but I think it's important. Your DevOps people your developers. They're the ones who need to integrate with your single sign-on solution. And I remember last year, a colleague of mine in our team, he had to spend a month pulling his hair out, bleeding tears of blood, trying to explain to the DevOps people how to integrate with the single sign-on solution so that they use it. But you have to do that. You have to make sure they're using it, because otherwise what's the point of having a single sign-on solution that nobody's using? And you have to make sure that different teams understand. Your HR team, you need to get in touch with them because they do the training. They're responsible for making sure that staff are trained, whether it's new joiners coming in who need to know how to get extra access to a new system, how to get onto the approval workflow, or how to, or for a manager who needs to do attestation of the different staff on their team to make sure that, okay, how do I do this? I need to do this every quarter. Am I trained? Is there a nice little online video that I can watch? Whatever it may be. So that's the little stuff that I maybe wanted to go through. And the main point is that IAM isn't magic. It's bloody hard work. And you really do need to focus on things which aren't necessarily the technical side. Thank you.